And welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we have another great guest. We've got Chris Notarile here, and he is going to talk about his work as a director, as well as offer some advice and tell us what his favorite movie is. But before we do, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, smash the like button. And if you're enjoying the content, let us know in the comments below. It lets us know how we're doing. But Chris, my man, how are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. Just got back from a busy night of my day job.
Gotcha. And what's funny is that you're all the way on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, so there's a bit of a time difference here. So we're kind of scrambling to try to make sure that we got things working.
Yeah,
But you're doing okay so far. Nothing stressful. Nothing that's out of the ordinary.
just going through the daily routine, trying to get from one project to the next.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that one. I've sort of been sucked into this vortex of paranormal stuff lately. I just discovered Dave Schrader's podcast, and I've been listening to that over and over again for the past few days. So it's kind of a weird rabbit hole that I'm going down.
If you're into the supernatural, I highly recommend checking out my Haunted City web series and podcast.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, it's about a vigilante ghost who avenges the deaths of others.
So is the ghost like? Is he like he's not allowed to pass on until he's sort of done a few things?
She made the choice. She doesn't want to pass on because she is just angry at the fact that she was herself killed. So she just took on the role of emissary for death. So her job is basically to find other lost souls, help them cross over, and then whenever she's ready, she can just cross over too. She doesn't have to like do a certain amount and then she can go. She wants to be here.
Gotcha. So this is her kind of paying it forward, as it were, right?
It's more like she has unfinished business. She's angry that she was unceremoniously killed, and so she wants to inflict that pain onto other evildoers.
So is she actively like finding these evildoers, or do they just happen to stumble across them by chance? Like,
no, she's finding them. So she first finds the murder victim, gets the information she needs, and then she tracks and hunts down the killers and makes them suffer greatly.
Okay. Damn, this sounds like something we could do for Halloween, man. This is really, really spectacular.
Pretty much. It's supposed to be the feature-length version, supposed to be like a cyberpunk noir, like set in like a Blade Runner style future.
Okay.
Yeah, so neon lights and everything, but you have this, ghost spirit character who walks around and hunts down bad guys and just viciously kills them, scares them to death.
Yeah, it kind of has like an anime vibe to it, because the way you're describing the story, it kind of sounds like something that you would read in a manga. You know what I mean?
Definitely, but I want to go live action with it just because it's eye candy. It's pure eye candy.
Kind of like Sin City, sort of.
No, more like I said, Blade Runner with that neon noir look. Everything is blues and pinks and greens, a perpetual rain, steam fog, and just this massive labyrinth of skyscrapers.
Gotcha. Yeah, because when you said eye candy, my mind automatically went to Sin City. So
Sin
that's
City's more of like a period piece with its 1950s style, very Batman animated series. This, like I said, we're going Blade Runner with it. So yes, with very anime, but a gritty live action version of that.
Okay, cool. Well, you'll definitely keep me up to date and let me know how that goes, because that sounds really, really interesting to me now.
Well, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel where you can watch 3 episodes and then listen to the 3 podcast episodes as well.
Yeah. If you'll send me the link, I'll put it in the description below, and we'll definitely promote that, because that sounds really, really cool right now. So I do want to get to know you a little bit. So tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do. Kind of give us an introduction as to who Chris Notarile is.
Well, I am the head of Blinky Productions. I'm a writer, director, filmmaker. So I basically just I have an idea, I write the idea, and then I shoot, direct, edit the idea, cast the movie, and make the costumes. I do basically everything. I'm a one-man production shop.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what it sounds like right there. Did you go to school for that, or was it something that you had to learn on the as you went along?
I went to school for animation, so everything I learned as a filmmaker is more or less self-taught or imported over from animation. I did stop motion, so learning how to build your puppets, build your sets, acting, and all that stuff. That's stop motion animation, and then I transferred those skills over into live action, which enabled me to do a lot more than most traditional film students.
So, what was the most what was the most difficult I guess either skill or lesson that you had to learn that was separate from animation? Because animation's like because having studied a little bit of animation myself, that's like a whole different animal compared to like I don't want to say regular filmmaking, but like
For
conventional
me,
filmmaking.
I mean, for me, conventional filmmaking was actually a lot easier than animation because I had people doing things for me rather than having to do everything myself.
Hmm.
So it actually, in my opinion, was easier. That's why I enjoy it so much. Because as much as I love animation, I don't want to be that meticulous where I have to do frame by frame by frame by frame. That would drive me insane.
Yeah, it is mind numbing after a while.
Yep.
I totally feel your pain on this one. So where did you go to school for
I
animation?
went to the School of Visual Arts in New York.
Okay, gotcha. So did you ever have plans to just work in animation like full time, or did you feel like this was just like something that you enjoyed, but then you discovered you know filmmaking, and then you kind of went in that direction?
No, the plan was always to become a filmmaker, but I wanted to learn animation first because I felt that would give me a unique skill set. If everybody in college is learning the same, lessons as for film students, then what would set me apart from everybody else? So I wanted to come to the table with skills that the average film student would not have. And
Right.
that is animation, being able to do special effects, being able to act, being able to build your sets and be more creative, and all that came from animation.
Right. So so can you talk to me what your first project was like and what it was about and what you were doing?
Well, my very first project just turned 20 years old, and it was called Baby Punisher, in which and this is live action we're talking about. I
Right.
had there was a contest for Wizard magazine where they're like, hey, send us basically like a video or whatever, and um I took the audio from the 2003 teaser trailer to the Punisher, the Thomas Jane version, and
Hmm.
I edited that audio to this little boy in a Punisher costume messing up his bedroom, and then his mom punishes him. And the video is called Baby Punisher. And but it's funny because the kid's like really serious, like with Thomas Jane's voiceover saying like punishment, and then the mom punishes him because he made the mess and everything. Then that I filmed that in about 2 hours at my neighbor's house in one day, and then I edited everything together, and that was like my first taste of live action filmmaking. I mean, I had done other stuff prior, like I took a filmmaking class at 16, and I edited a 16 millimeter um, short film together, or an 8 millimeter short film together, but I never got to see it except one time. But my first complete narrative short was Baby Punisher, and I made it completely by myself. I didn't have any help, and that was kind of the genesis for where I would be going in life.
And, was that shot on
Just shot
on
on
film or
a JVC Handycam.
okay, gotcha. So it's like those old mini DV tapes or DVD
Yeah, so
tapes,
the
yeah.
mini DV camera, the thing is like the size of a Walkman, and I filmed on that, edited on Final Cut Pro, and then rinse and repeat for the last 20 years.
I mean, I went to film school myself, so I understand exactly the process you're talking about there. Did
Yeah,
you yeah, I was gonna say, did you have to use that old machine that converted the footage into you know
digital. Yeah,
into
I
data?
had to, I
Yeah.
had to do a DV deck, and I had to play the video and in real time and log it onto the computer, and that was obnoxious for the first 10 years of my career until finally I got a Canon XL1 and I went full digital at that point, and then I was able to just dump the footage on my computer digitally and not have to worry about tapes because those things pile up.
Yeah, especially with the tapes because the tapes themselves, and I can remember too having to buy loads of them,
Yep.
back in was it 2000, like 2008 to 2010. I was spending close to $200 on mini DV tapes because they don't come cheap and they're very difficult to get, as I found out. And then once and by late 2010, 2011, when the school started using, DSLRs. At that time, it was DSLR. That was like the gold standard.
Yep.
That's when that's when the budget kind of went down to like $20 to get one of those SD cards, and things just became a whole lot easier. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that one.
Pretty
But
much
even
that's exactly what happened with me. Once I got the DSLR, I was like, all right, cool. This is much faster, much easier.
and I was gonna say too, because DSLR cameras, like, if one person had a DSLR, all of a sudden he became the most popular person around because everybody wanted to use it because it was so much easier to transfer data than just using the DV tapes because like you tested yourself. I mean, sometimes you would just sit there for yeah, I don't know. In my case, it was like an hour and a half watching the data transfer over, and sometimes you kind of just sit there looking around. You're like, man, I wish I brought a book or something to read because there was nothing you could really do at that point.
Pretty much.
So you make Baby Punisher. What happens after that?
After that, excuse me. After that, I made a couple more short films. That summer, I made the Nightmare Ends on Halloween, which was Freddy versus Michael, Jason, Leatherface, and Pinhead. And then I followed that up with Friday the 31st in January of 2005. And then about, a full year and a half after I'd started making movies, YouTube it came about. So I uploaded everything to YouTube. Prior to that, I was putting them on my own personal website. And then when YouTube came about, I'm like, all right, this is much easier. And I just put them up there and they started getting views.
So, and you're still in New York at that time too, right?
Yeah, I was in New York until 2013.
Okay, so that's when you moved out west, right?
Yeah, I moved to California in 2013, but I did come back in 2015, and then I returned in 2016. And I've been here ever since.
Gotcha. So what did you do when you first got to California? Because when you're in film school, everybody pretty much says California is where you need to go if you want to get your foot in the door. What did you do at that time?
First thing I did was I made a short film and tried to create a new network of actors that I could work with. So at that time, I was working on my Krueger series, which was a prequel series about Freddy Krueger as the Springwood slasher. So I was doing a new episode, and I got some local talent. I did an original short film, got some local talent, started building up everything, and then yeah, just rinse and repeat until you have a nice syndicate of people you can go to.
But what was it like at that time? Because it's 2013, you're fresh out of college.
No, I'm
You're
not. I'm not.
or-
I graduated in
oh, you're not
2005.
2005. Okay, so but you're in LA. Can you describe what was it like trying to, like, get settled in and trying to make a name for yourself in LA? Because there are a lot of people, who move to LA trying to do the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah, the hardest part was just trying to learn where everything was, get your bearings. Um, I wasn't one of those people who were like, I'm going to go to California, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to go start, harassing people at studios to get me a job. I came out to California and I was like, I'm going to just make stuff and try and do what I was doing in New York and New Jersey in California. And that was kind of it. Once I hit my groove, I was producing on the regular, my own content while I was trying to network and find investors for my feature projects. And that's basically where I'm at, which is I'm balancing making short films, original content, fan film content, and trying to network and find actual people who can help get me to the next level of my career, because that's really what it is. The
Yeah.
problem is, you find a lot of people who are not legitimate and they waste a lot of your time.
Can you can you maybe, like, talk a little bit about that? Because I've spoken with a lot of people who work in fashion who've said they've pretty much come across scammers who try to extort money from people for photos. What was that process like, having to deal with people like that?
I would say the biggest scam is people who tell me, if you give me like $10,000 up front, I can, as my retainer fee, I can get you, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for your movie. I go, well, that's stupid, because if I had $10,000, I wouldn't even need you to begin with, because I have $10,000 in my pocket, but
Right.
to spare, no less. But that's usually the first red flag for me, is when people are asking for upfront money. If you were coming on the project as a producer, an executive producer, a VC scout, you're taking back end, because that's how it works. You get paid when I get paid. And anybody who asks for upfront money is essentially scamming you, because they don't have a guarantee. They can't guarantee that they're going to be able to do half of what they say. And the easiest thing they can do is say, well, I tried, sorry, no refunds. And then you're shit out of luck. So
Yeah.
I would say, do not trust anybody that asks for money up front.
How do they market themselves though? Do they kind of present themselves as agents or
Oh no, Ray. I
what?
just I just spoke with a guy from LinkedIn who was telling me that he's this product placement guru, that he has like an illustrious 25-year career where he got the cast of Baywatch to meet these executives, and they gave a ton of money for like this special that they were doing. He put the Nike sneakers in iRobot. He got the beer cans, or no, the guns that Mark Wahlberg was using in Shooter. And it's like, okay, great. And he goes, but I have a $30,000 retainer fee. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you pay me $30,000 and I can get you X amount of money. I go, because he's like, oh, I know all these people. All I got to do is make one phone call and boom, I can get all this stuff. I go, oh, great. So you can make one phone call, then make that one phone call and take your $30,000 cut. And he goes, it's not how it works. I got to get the money up front. Well, sure enough, I decided to Google this gentleman, and he's a con artist who has several lawsuits against him for defrauding people.
And no connections at all to the cast from Baywatch, I presume.
Well,
right?
I don't know. It's basically tacit agreements, under the table stuff. There's no really good way to verify any of that. So that's the thing. He's not on IMDb. It's just there he is, and he's this phantom that comes out and says, "Give me money, I'll get you money." But that's the joke is, why am I giving you money to get money? Because they're gonna spend money to make money. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no. I shouldn't have to, and I'm not going to let you do that. I have distribution companies who do the same thing. Oh, you're going to give us your movie for free, and then you're going to pay us to convert your movie to the standards that we want. I go, what if I did it myself? Well, we don't accept it that way. We have to do it ourselves. I go, then cover the cost, because you're getting a free movie already. If I'm giving you a free movie and I'm only taking a back end, why the hell am I paying you to take my movie for free? So yeah, but that's just the business. That's on every in every coast and every town and every state. There's always just someone who's trying to insist that their con artist way of doing things is the new norm, and you just have to accept it.
Right. And some people do fall for it, but it's kind of common sense when you think about it too. It's like it makes no sense for me to give you money when where, if I, like you said, if I had the money, I wouldn't need your services to begin with.
But there are people who are desperate. Even in film festivals are a scam, in my opinion, because I'm paying you to watch my movie for you to tell me whether or not it's good enough to get an award. I don't get the money back if you reject my film. So if I spend $1,000 to submit my movie to Sundance Film Festival and then they reject my movie, are they going to give me back the $1,000? No, they're not. That's not cool, in my opinion. And even the lesser ones, the ones that mean nothing, that no one's ever heard of, you have all these filmmakers saying, I'm an award-winning filmmaker. Okay, well, were you at Cannes? No, I was at the Iowa Film Festival. I go, that means nothing to me. Don't call yourself an award-winning filmmaker. I'm an award-winning filmmaker, but the awards I won are not noticeable enough where if I told you the name of the festival, you could recognize it.
Right. So it's just better to. So your advice would be, just keep your money and put it to something more useful, like, your projects, right?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, unless you're going to win a big award, unless it's Sundance, Cannes, South by Southwest, Toronto Film Festival, New York Film Festival, or anything like that, don't submit to it. And then on top of it, if you get accepted and win, call yourself an award-winning filmmaker, because you didn't win a significant award. You just won a award. I don't care if you were the best film in the middle of nowhere film festival. It's still the middle of nowhere film festival that no one's heard of but you.
Kind of disingenuous, you would say.
It's very disingenuous, and I see a lot of people calling themselves award-winning filmmakers, and they're using these laurels. But if you actually look at the names of these festivals, you can't recognize any of them. And it's like, what is this? I've never heard of this. You basically paid $20 to get a laurel. I could Photoshop that for free. No one's going to be able to fact check it. So I don't like the idea of I don't like the idea of film festivals charging money. I don't like the idea of investors charging money, or producers charging money. I just think that's not how this business should be working anymore.
Right, right, because it's been more democratized, for the past 20 years, really.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's just kind of gone downhill in the sense it used to be if I have an idea, I come and I pitch the idea, and if you like it, you throw money at it. Now it's impossible. I can't do that even physically because of all the, red tape. So yeah, if I even get a fucking pitch meeting, I should not have to, be paying for that pitch meeting. That's just rude.
Really? People pay for that?
Even in the sense of, oh, I'm giving you $5,000 to find me the money. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not in
Gotcha,
the literal sense
gotcha.
that I'm going to a studio and paying for that, but in the sense of money's coming out of my pocket in order for me to achieve my dream. Now, I've already have money come out of my pocket. You should be having to spend some money. You spend money for your equipment. You spend money to make your movie. You spend money to promote your movie. Understandable. Those are acceptable expenses, but
Right.
there is a certain point where it stops being your responsibility to pay for stuff, and it's now the next level, and these people don't want to pay.
Do you feel like this is something that a lot of filmmakers aren't aware of that they should be made aware of?
Yes, and I think a lot of them are desperate enough to fall for it. I know so many filmmakers who are so desperate to get famous, not successful, famous, that they
Right.
will pay any fee, do anything just so they can say they won something. They want to basically throw a party for themselves and, be popular on social media and say, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But it's like, what are you doing? You're spending money for your premiere. Okay, that's fine. We do premieres. But now you're spending money to submit to film festivals. You're spending money to get it onto a distribution platform, which a lot of distribution platforms don't offer performance guarantees. And then a performance guarantee is, hey, if your movie doesn't do well, we'll give you money, or like we guarantee it'll do X amount. So you're signing away the rights to your movies for an extended period of time, sometimes exclusively for like a decade, with a zero performance guarantee. And you're paying for it on top of it because you're just so desperate. You want it on Tubi, you want it on Netflix, and it's not how it should work.
No, these performance guarantees, they're seldom mentioned, right? It's just something that people just never knew exist, right?
I just learned about it last month. I'm like, a performance guarantee? You're not even guaranteeing. And I realized what it was. I go, you should be able to have, if you want an exclusive contract with me, you should have a performance guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, well, we can't guarantee anything. I go, well, then what good are you if you can't guarantee something? I'm investing. If I'm giving you money to take my movie, I'm investing that you are better than everybody else. And if you're telling me that you can't guarantee me even $5,000 back on my investment, then why am I with you? And why am I giving you my movie for at least like a decade?
Wow. See, these are things that people don't know about that I wish people would be made more aware of, but they're just so blinded, like you said, by this desire to be famous that they kind of that they can't see the forest from the trees, and they kind of get tangled in the weeds as a
Yep,
result.
pretty much.
Uh, so so you're in California, and you're trying to make a name for yourself. What projects have you made recently? Over the past few years, especially given we've had to go through the shitstorm called COVID-19. What was that
I
like?
have made dozens, if not hundreds, of short films over the past 20 years. I think I've made a grand total of like, 300 or 400.
Oh wow! Can you maybe talk about a few of them or just describe
Yeah,
them?
mostly I'm known for fan films. So like I did the Krueger series, which is a prequel series about Freddy Krueger as a human being before he was murdered.
Hmm.
Michael Myers, I did for him, it was that new timeline. So I decided to explore what he was doing in the 40 years after 1978 to, I guess, 2018 when he escaped. What was he doing in that time? I did like a Candyman fan film, a Scream fan film, Superman fan film, Batman fan film, and then I do a lot of obscure characters. I did The Shadow, I did Gen 13, I did Powdered Toast Man, I did The Tick, I did what else did I do? Just all these, and most of these come from suggestions from people. I just basically try to be the first at everything. So I'm looking for stuff that hasn't had proper representation, and then I represent it.
So because based on what you've told me, would you describe yourself as being influenced by geek culture? Because a lot of what you're doing,
That's an understatement.
It is okay. Yeah, yeah, because a lot of what you're describing, I mean, definitely is like an homage to, to nerddom and geekdom,
I
especially with
made
the
I made an
fans.
amalgam movie. Okay, that's how deep I go.
Yeah.
Do you
So,
know what the amalgams are?
um, I've heard of amalgam comics back in the
That's it.
'90s. Yep.
That was it. I made the first and only live action amalgam movie.
God, God, I haven't heard that in like close to 20 years.
Yeah, Super
Because
Soldier and Dark Claw.
yeah, I remember Dark Claw. I remember reading Super Soldier. I wasn't really a fan of.
Well, I wanted to do World's Finest, so I had the two of them together, and that's how deep I dive.
Well, I was gonna say because and if you want to steal the idea, I mean you can. I'd always wondered what it was like if if you took the Disney characters and kind of you know put them in a in a Marvel situation where they're kind of like exposed to all these weird things. Like what would happen to them? Like what
They
kind
have
of
that game, the Kingdom of Hearts.
Well, I was thinking something more darker though.
You try
Like
to get me thrown in prison?
well, have you ever read the What If series? Not the MCU series, but like the comics that they did way back in the day,
Yeah, I have a
where
couple of what ifs.
yeah. So like like what would happen to the Hulk? Like instead of being like this massive monster, he's like this nebulous green blob that just explodes. That's what I was thinking more of. But that's just me riffing here.
Yeah.
So what are you so do you have what are you working on at the moment, or what are your plans for future projects?
I'm sorry. The next project I have coming up is I'm doing a James Bond short.
James Bond? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do a 007 short where we're going to explore the idea of the code name James Bond and how it's a moniker and a mantle passed down from agent to agent when one, retires or dies.
Now, did you ever read the story about this I wouldn't say British, but he's like an English spy master from the Elizabethan period. He was given the original moniker of 007. Did you ever hear about that story?
No.
No. So I was watching a video, and it was from it was on Mr. Mythos's channel, and they were talking about about this alchemist who briefly went to work for Elizabeth I, and he was her spy master, and he was working on the continent, and he actually was the first to receive the moniker of 007.
Mm.
So this is like way back in the 1500s, like during Shakespeare's time.
Well, this wouldn't be just 007. This would be the name James Bond, which
Okay.
justifies why other actors have played James Bond in the movies. So the name and identity of James Bond is given to a new agent in a trial by fire situation.
Okay, okay, gotcha. So regardless of whether he's a Scotsman or an Irishman or
Right.
whatever, he still goes by that name.
Yeah, he's given that name. His identity is legally changed. All of his documentation is changed. And in this particular story, they're throwing him right in the deep end, and he has to sink or swim.
Gotcha. Does he just out of curiosity? So does he still retain like his original memories, or does his memories
Oh
get
no, he
wiped?
knows who he is. He's fighting it the whole time. He goes, "Don't call me that. That's not my name." And they go, "Tough. Deal with it."
Right. So like, yeah, my name's not James, it's Nigel, but obviously their
Basically,
names is
so in
James.
in our
Yeah.
particular situation, he is down on his luck, and they find him, essentially kidnap him, change all of his identity, and then put him in a situation and say, "So we think you're a good prospect to be an MI6 agent. Your new name is James Bond." He goes, "That's not my name." They go, "It is now. Deal with it." And he goes, "I don't want to be an agent." He goes, "Well," and they go, "Well, you know what? If you survive this situation, you can then choose whether or not you want to be. But either way, you're in the situation, so survive."
Right, right. So it kind of sounds like in a way he really doesn't have much of a choice.
Not in this particular story. He's thrown in the deep end, and he has to first get out before he can choose whether or not he wants to continue to be James Bond.
And I'm assuming the situation is one of those impossible situations, right?
No, people are coming to kill him, and he has to survive.
Gotcha. So Chris, if people want to learn more about your work, if they want to follow you, where can they go?
Cut that out if you can. You can find me on YouTube. My channel is Blinky500. My Instagram is Blinky500. My Facebook is Blinky500. I have tons of fan films, original content. I have radio plays. I have books on Amazon. Just type in, Chris R. Notarile, and you can find me. I'm very responsive as well. So if you like what you see in my work, you can leave a comment, and I'll definitely respond if you have a question.
Cool, and I'll definitely put those links down in the description below so people can check that out. So before we wrap up, as this is a movie podcast, I have to ask: are there any movies or TV shows that you've seen recently that you want to give a shout out to?
I just saw Madam Web, and the answer is no.
It didn't look appealing from the trailer either, so that's why I passed on seeing it.
It's caused me this illness right now that you hear. I'm dying because I watched Madam Web.
You kind of ask yourself, why did I even bother? Right?
Yeah, we watched it out of morbid curiosity, and it was I nerd raged. So I nerd raged.
So I do have to ask, did any of it make sense? Because the whole idea is supposed to like tie into the whole Sony Spider-Verse crap.
No, it did not make sense at all. None of it made sense. The logic behind the power skills did not even make sense. The logic behind the villain's motives didn't make sense. He's coming to kill 3 girls because in the future, one day, they're going to kill him. But they don't know who he is right now. They're now going to know who he is because he's trying to kill them.
Obviously.
They don't know who you are. Leave him alone. Idiot.
I was gonna say you've actually set a precedent because you're the first guest to actually give a shout out to a movie that you've seen recently that you actually hate and not liked. So that's a first.
Thank you.
But Chris, I do want to thank you for being patient and taking the time to be on this podcast. And I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this episode. And remember to like, comment, subscribe. And as always, we'll catch you on the flip side. And we appreciate you. Ciao.